Hi everyone, my name is Dakasharel Garner. I'm in your environmental health class, PHC6315, doing my video presentation. My presentation is on environmental and sociological causes and effects of obesity. We'll start with slide 1. Introduction. By definition, obesity is defined as an abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents a risk to health. A lot of doctors will say obesity is more or less the energy expenditure, so what you intake as far as calories versus your output. Obviously, if you intake more calories than you output, you're going to start to gain weight. Your body's going to start to store fat. If you intake less calories than you output, then obviously, you'll either stay the same or you'll drastically be extremely thin. So there's obviously extremes. You don't want to be too extreme, but you want to stay somewhere in the middle, like a healthy weight. Throughout the presentation, I'll be describing some general causes and effects of obesity. It is an epidemic. It's a very huge epidemic, and it's actually getting worse. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but it's getting worse. And throughout my research, I've seen things going on, research happening, and solutions that people are trying to come up with. So we'll go through those things. So in my first slide, as you can see, obesity is in fact an epidemic, as I described. The CDC, which is the Center of Disease and Control and Prevention, considers obesity to be any human being with a body mass index of equal or greater to 30. The CDC groups from 5 to 10%, 15 to 20, 29 to 30. 30 and anything greater is considered obese and morbidly obese. That means you have a really, really excessive amount of fat on your body, which can start to hinder effects as far as your body trying to function correctly, organ function, heart. Obviously your heart's going to be pumping faster. A lot of different things that we want to address. If you look at the graph, it's trends in overweight, obesity, and extreme obesity. The blue line represents overweight, which is not necessarily 30 or more. It's usually going to be between 25 and 29. I'll explain that. BMI is body mass index, which means it's measured as far as your height considering your weight. So like, let's say someone was 5'2". They would be considered to be obese if they're over 170 or to 200 pounds, because 5'2" is pretty short, and where's the fat going to go but out, sort of thing like that. And as you can see with the orange line, which is the obese, it increased from that year, 1988, all the way to 2008. Like it's been increasing. There's not really a stagnant point in time. So that's why it's such a huge thing right now, because it hasn't shown any, stagnant way. It just increases. On the next slide, we'll talk about some common stressors. Genetics is a big one. A lot of people say, if your family's prone to being fat, you are. I can honestly say, it's common, but it's not something that's going to happen. I have heart disease, obesity, high blood pressure on both sides of my family, just depending on which side you're going to. And, I definitely don't have those problems. We try to keep those things in check, especially if we know about it. Prevention is very important in our field. Behavioral notions and habits, which of course is your lifestyle. How do you live? Do you work out? Do you eat right? Do you try to make good choices? A lot of people are extremely busy. I know some of you that have kids. It's really hard to keep track and things like that, but you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Environmental factors, whether that be schoolwork and home, diet and fitness, and social influence and interactions. These are all common stressors that people deal with on a day-to-day, especially with school and work and being at home. Sometimes you just don't have time to make, and like a lot of these, all these stressors that I'm naming are common stressors that throughout research, CDC, National Research Center for Physical Activity and Obesity, these are a lot of the things that they're finding that people are having majorly in common, because unfortunately obesity is not a simple thing. There's a lot of things that contribute to people gaining that weight and not being able to keep it in balance. There's a lot of different stressors and a lot of things that cause people to be able to have that. The next slide, some sociological influences. Family, friends, and peers, obviously, which is also co-workers, people you see on a daily, especially kids when I say peers, because a lot of kids hang out with their peers all the time, all day long. You know, they're at school for 6-7 hours a day. And the main thing with the sociological influence like that is that, you know, usually the people you hang around are the people you tend to do things like. So let's say your friends every day, every other day after school, you know, they go eat, they go get a pizza, they go get a soda. You know, those are your friends. You know, those you want to fit in. You know, studies show these kids, you know, they want to be, you know, they want to fit in as it is. It's, you know, especially in the middle adolescent ages, middle school, 12, 16, you know, they want to hang out, they want to be independent. They go eat soda, they go drink. The, you know, the vending machines don't help in schools. That's a whole nother subject. But, you know, all these different things accumulate, and it, you know, they start to have really, really bad eating habits and bad choices based on people they hang out with. The family part I want to emphasize is that family has a huge impact, because, you know, from the ages of 1 to 2, kids can't really feed themselves. So kids start to learn their eating habits young. So if the family's buying these different kind of foods and things and bringing them into the home, that's going to set the child up for life as far as their eating habits, their lifestyle, what they're going to do, and everything like that. So it's very important that the family's involved and educated in obesity and things of that nature so they can make the right choices. Healthy and unhealthy eating habits, which is something I just described, and the fact that we live in a society that stresses body image. It's very important that, you know, that's something that's also instilled in the home and within families, peer groups, anything, everything that I'm naming as far as sociological influence. Body image is it's sacrifice in a way in our society. Like, you can be a size 0, you know, a model, but, you know, you need to, they tell you they're eating right, but a lot of the times, you know, we find out behind the scenes, you know, that they're not really eating and they're smoking. You can be a size 2 and be completely unhealthy, you know. So there's also extremes to obesity, but, you know, it's very, very important that education, you know, can psych out these sociological influences that are everywhere every single day. Another one, a huge one, is socioeconomic status. In research, we found that a lot of communities that are of lower socioeconomic status, they don't have the funds or the money or anything to get the right foods. They don't have any way to get to them, and they just, you know, they don't have the funds. I mean, some people just really don't have the money. They don't have the right job to make the type of money. It's a huge destructive circle. Moving on, sociological influences again, media and culture. You know, a lot of things that have happened is technology. You know, with the iPhone now, you can do everything on the iPhone. You don't even have to go anywhere. So that's really, really huge. Media, you know, advertisements, you know, late at night, especially, like, I know Wendy's right now has, you know, 50-piece nuggets for $7.77, or is that Burger King? But who needs 50 nuggets? You know what I mean? Like, that's not very necessary, and it's contributing to what people are eating now. On to some health and physical effects. Obviously, some effects are obviously type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart disease, endometrial and breast cancer. You know, internal effects, as you can see the diagram, all that white part on the outside is body fat. That is accumulated fat around the vital organs, limbs, everything, which can cause things like osteoarthritis, pressure on the joints, the heart's working 10 times harder than it needs to, all these different kind of things. Physical effects, again, on the second slide, this picture of an artery. You know, fat turns into plaque, it hardens. That's heart attack, stroke, and again, high blood pressure, very high blood pressure. And as you continue, I have more effects listed there. Environmental influence, again, food availability and portion control. Again, like I said, with the Wendy's and stuff, why is it, you know, 50 nuggets for $7.77? That's just ridiculous. Okay, nutritional transition to high fat. We have so much high fat, low dense foods now. It's very rare that you know, our society will cook foods that are healthier for them. So that's something that needs to happen. Accessibility. You know, in urbanized areas, it's really hard for people to get to grocery stores, farmer markets, and things like that. Nationwide obesity, I have some stats there for you. Approximately 1/3 of the adults are obese, with 17% of children and adolescents. And if you move to the next slide, I have the obesity trends, 2010, 2019, 90. It's an epidemic. That's only 10-year spans in between, and it's just completely If you look, 25 to 29% with the lighter to dark orange, and then the over 30%, as you can see, it's mostly in the South. Then we move to battling obesity in the U.S. Many professionals don't even describe obesity as a huge problem. They don't see it as a problem. Another obstacle is the perception that we as a society don't know how to prevent obesity. When we do, again, that's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of changes. It's not going to be a simple solution. It's going to be a lot of different types of solutions. Ways to fight, our communities can expand access to fruits and veggies. As I said, there's a lot of marketing programs. I know there's a program in Texas that allows farmer programs to come in, and they do farmers markets every week for people, you know, again, with the socioeconomic status who can't afford. We also have, you know, building access of sidewalks and bikeways and things like that for people to travel on. In conclusion, as public health, we always want to be informed of the latest, most effective educational tools for our patients, students, you know, people that we want to educate, and we just overall want to get healthy. This disease is so detrimental to society, and in research, it really has just blown my mind how fast this is spread. I mean, it's very preventable, and people are losing their lives and losing their lifestyle, their way of life, you know, because at this point, you know, if they can't walk, you know, without a walker, or they can't breathe without having oxygen because, you know, the fat in their bodies compressing their lungs, things like that. And all of that comes down to just education and just a whole lot of solutions that need to be helped. Okay, so that's my topic, and yeah, have a great day, everyone.